everyone, welcome to the newest episode of the Some Ordinary Podcast. With me today is my lovely and beautiful co-host. He solved all the geopolitical crises in the world. His name is Mudahar, and we love him.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and we also have, for the first time on the podcast, a talented lawyer, Legal Mindset.
Thank you for having me, Nux. Appreciate it, and appreciate you, educating me behind the scenes on all the VTube nonsense that I didn't know about before, but now I know a whole lot about after the last week.
Let's go.
Dude, that's gotta be the wildest thing as like a lawyer. It's like sometimes you just hop into a case and it's in an industry where you're like, what the?
Well, you gotta be ready, but you gotta be ready to go 0 to 60. And if you're not ready, come on. And I was already a weeb. I already knew a lot about anime, so like a lot of the anime cultural stuff was there. It was just the absolute sheer hubris of these companies is actually pretty insane. I mean, in any other industry, this would be like just a huge scandal. But it seems like there's not just even this incident, but like going back and people telling me more things that have happened historically, it's kind of crazy in the VTubing world in terms of, what's happened to talent.
Yeah, it's like the entertainment industry if you take every safeguard and ethics.
Dude, we're starting a new industry, new VTuber agency hosted by Epstein's Island's private servers.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's called Wacker.
I made a mention in like a video a couple days ago where I talked about the laws regarding minor salaries. I was talking about like YouTube family channels in California. So I was just sitting there. I'm like, man, we have like actual ethical safeguards for a lot of industries right here, and it wasn't always like that. But it's just, dude, you would think that even in Japan, like a first world nation, you would think over there they wouldn't treat this industry like organized criminal like cartel was running it,
Well, it's not that far off from how they've run a lot of their other idle stuff, right? So if you look at the system that they use, and I actually had a fairly detailed, it was like a 200-page document, but there's like 30 relevant pages on how they run their general idle system. There are known links with organized crime, like the extra legal Yakuza solutions were already part of that idol system for normal celebrities. So you take a lot of that and you like merge it over into the VTuber side, and this whole expectation that they kind of own you, that they kind of own the talent, the company kind of owns the talent, that you can see that translate over. You can see that kind of, okay, yeah, we're used to like we own you, and like you're kind of our property now, right? And in the VTube sense, they actually are, because from a legal sense, they own the avatar, they own the images, they own the IP. So technically, they kind of do own it, except for the personality, which is what makes it profitable.
True, right? But again, if you look at just the idol industry, like the big one, AKB48, like that's one of the really big idol industry thingos. They had one of the girls that was seen with a guy, and like as an apology for penance, they would literally take her outside and they shaved her head in public to humiliate her.
And
like,
she did it. And beyond that,
dude, that's what the bad guys do in Game of Thrones. Okay,
Yes, and then she had to do, with her shaved head, a crying apology video begging them to forgive her.
So it's not just owning the avatar. Owning the avatar is one thing.
You guys are going like 130 miles an hour. I like hit the roadblock as soon as you mentioned the word penance.
Y'all, everybody, if I could just take your briefest attention for just a moment to say thank you to the wonderful people over at Rocket Money for making this podcast today possible. This is an app that will go through all of your terrible, unwanted subscriptions that you did one time. Rocket Money is here for you, ladies and gentlemen. It is the finance app that will help you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. I am using Rocket Money for exactly that. You simply upload photos of your bills, you tap a few buttons, Rocket Money negotiates your bills for you. It is literally making your life easier actively. All you gotta do, click the link in the description below. Rocket Money has helped save its customers an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Save more money, spend less money. Join the 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/someordinarypodcast, or once again, click the link in the description. Get started for free and unlock even more features with the premium. That is rocketmoney.com/someordinarypodcast to get started for free.
Like, what the fuck? Whittle on back there. Hold on.
Okay. Well, let's get some history, you know.
All right. Start it off. Take us away. Take it away.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's expected that, like, for example, with defamation in Japan, and once again, you know, hashtag not a Japanese lawyer, but, you know, the English translation, you can read these things in English. One of the acceptable remedies for the judge, or remedies for you to make it better if you've defamed somebody in Japan, is to issue a public apology and make a public statement apologizing sincerely, saying what you said was wrong, and doing, you know, some form of penance,
humility,
right?
humiliation,
yeah, showing your humility, right? Showing that you apologize, your contrition, right? You know, I'm from Florida. There was a small town in Florida that when you would steal or do another sort of crime, they would make you stand by the road with a sign that says, like, I'm a thief. Sort of like that, right? You've got to actually go out there and have a public element to your
yeah, you got to be shamed.
punishment. Yeah, shame. And to be very fair on shame does work. Shame can be very highly effective sometimes.
So does breaking your kneecaps, okay? But like,
Yeah, for real.
not the point.
It's true. It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
What's insane about it is like how legal this is. In like one of the biggest countries in the world, one of the biggest economies too, right?
And it was wild when it turned out that Andrew Tate was actually the CEO of Nijisanji. I couldn't believe it.
Probably.
The thing is, it's like, even if it's illegal, the problem is because of this international element, like, there aren't international lawsuits for a reason, because they're really freaking expensive and they're just not worth it. Most of the time the parties are just like, oh, well, we got screwed, you got screwed, okay, we'll walk away. Because it's just not worth trying to do international depositions. And what are you going to do? You're going to try to extradite somebody? That's going to cost you $500,000, right? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with their assets? They don't have anything in Canada. They didn't actually have a Canadian subsidiary. There's no assets in Canada. So, like, Doki couldn't even, if she wanted to sue, even if she, you know, had grounds, which I think she may, it doesn't matter. They don't have shit in Canada. So she would have to go to Japan, or they would have to go to Canada. It just doesn't make it worth it in the mind for litigation, which comes out in the favor of Nijisanji, because that means they can act like, you know, they can act like however they want to act like, and essentially nothing's going to come of it because there's no remedy. So
Yeah. But at least the internet sort of vindicated her on this one. I feel like that's so. My perspective of this Nijisanji thing is they bit off much more than they could chew when they actually thought that they could treat Western talent like they've been treating the Japanese talent.
Correct.
Because the Japanese talent is used to the idol culture. So to some extent, they're going to walk that tightrope.
I'd say there's also like a proximity thing too, right? Like, again, this has been going on for so long in Japan. And to be real, like, I'm from like Toronto, so I don't really hear or care too much about what their celebrity culture is doing or industry. But the moment it happens on our side of the water, dude, trust me, I follow Drake way less than I follow like Nijisanji. Jesus Christ. No, but like, okay, if it happens on our side of the world, right? And like I said like a few minutes ago, we have like laws and like ethical like sort of like barriers for this kind of stuff. So when you see it so visibly broken, I think that's what really brought this more to the mainstream. Because I wouldn't have known about Doki Bird if it wasn't for Unux, and then also like reading
Charlie.
into this further. Well, I beat Charlie to the punch on this one, actually.
True.
I looked into this.
Excuse me.
Dude, it always drives me insane. Like, if I'm like a minute late from something, because he'll like record something straight up and upload it. I'm like going through and like researching and like putting in like pieces and edits, and I'm like, God damn it, you assholes, give me the extra hour. But anyways, no shout out there. It's great that everyone covered it, because the amount of awareness that was raised.
Yes.
Again, the only thing she could have gotten out of this was the public perception on her side, which it has. And that's about all she could have expected. That's about the best possible case scenario. And at least we now learn, like, this is actively going on, and it shouldn't go on. And if you are somebody that is working with these organizations, then there needs to be a new type of VTuber organization that helps to combat this kind of an exploitative practice, because it's one of the biggest. Like, when I saw the amount of revenue the VTuber industry was making, absolutely mind-blowing.
And people aren't paying attention to this. The thing that was boggling me, especially my fellow lawyers and the quote-unquote law tubers, like, they're all like, Andrew, they're you know, DMing me or whatever, saying that, Andrew, what's going on? What is this stuff? Like, what's this VTubing stuff? I'm like, it's just, you know, the biggest thing in Japan. Like, go look at Playboard. Like, go turn it over to...
I am really enjoying this conversation, because you guys have finally seen Nirvana, okay? been awakened. I have been screaming this for over a year now. I've been screaming this at the top of my lungs. There are so many cases of VTubers that have been abused in one way or another by these companies, and they have no way to fight back because after they're fired from the companies, they're also legally silenced, okay? It's not that every VTuber company is bad. It's just that a lot of them are.
Here's your NDA, right? Yeah. Here's your NDA, right? And they're gonna hand them the NDA. They're gonna probably take some sort of small settlement, and they're gonna go away because there's a wild power disparity between one and the other.
So it's worse than just an NDA because they'll make you sign something before they fire you. Okay? And if you refuse to sign it, they'll say, okay, you don't have to sign this. If you don't, we'll take you to court, and we'll also blast you online, and we'll basically cancel you publicly. If you do sign it, well, then you literally can't say anything.
Right.
So that's kind of the method to the madness. It's insane. And the fact that they keep all the play buttons... like, what is that? That's just to stroke your own ego.
It's petty as shit.
Evil shit that I've ever seen.
Let me remind you, I own you. They're 2 steps away from taking the Yellowstone cattle brand and start just,
I mean, but you're not wrong about it too. It's like, again, when I go, like, okay, in the entertainment industry in the United States and Canada, it can also be as scummy, right? Like, there are cases where talent is, I wouldn't like it. They're definitely taking advantage of abuse. It's unethical.
Sure.
We have laws here that are designed to help protect, right? And no matter what people say, laws, regulations, these things existing do provide a base layer of protection, and that's something that I want to see implemented, at least in the VTuber side. Like, if you're an entertainment organization and you're working overseas, right, which a lot of organizations do, there needs to be better international laws and better, like, I feel like the only way you can hire talent here is if you incorporate a business here and you operate with the actual ethical laws that we set for the talent that you've brought here.
So that was one of my suggestions. I had 2 potential solutions. By the way, I completely agree with you. And I'm the biggest anti-regulation guy. I'm like super, like, we've over-regulated. I've had to do business with California, in part of my corporate life for years. They have too much. But this is one where there's none and it's a problem, right? There's like 0, right? And like 0 is too little. Like, we can do a little bit better for them than 0, right? And so the 2 solutions are either there's an international arbitration.
I'm not one for regulation, but slavery is bad.
Let's, like, maybe we don't abuse the slaves, maybe not. Maybe that's kind of bad, maybe just, call me crazy, it's 2024, right? But like, okay, international arbitration, there could be some sort of international arbitration, and my thing is it should be outside of Japan, because in the Japanese influence, especially for international VTubers, people that are not located in Japan, because they don't have the same remedies that a Japanese person would have. That's one. Number 2 is exactly what Mudhar said, which is you must incorporate an actual entity there and keep assets there in proportion to that funding that you're getting from those folks in some proportion. So there's some remedy, right? You can bring a case in, for example, with Doki Bird Canada, right? Or bring a case somewhere else against them. You don't have to go to Japan and litigate in Japanese court to claim against Nijisanji. That's ridiculous.
And not to mention, okay, this is just from a completely legislative perspective, but like, even on a normal perspective, they've been hiring their managers as part-time Japanese students that are in a high school that speak conversational level of English. Those are the people they're hiring to be their English managers. Like, that's insane. Like, just purely from a negligence perspective, what are they thinking?
And that was the whole job ad that was for literally 1,100 yen, which right now was like $7 US and 40 cents per hour for a quadlingual employee. English, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. Are you kidding me? Quadlingual?
I can barely speak one language alone, and I'm not gonna be paid that little.
Dude, you ain't getting paid $7.40, okay? Listen.
Dude, I had somebody defend, like, it's like, well, I mean, this is kind of standard rate, and I'm like, who the said it was standard rate? Dude, the moment you add languages to your goddamn, like, repertoire, your rate goes up. There's not a lot of people that are designed to
That's why they were hiring part-time students.
No, and
those guys are idiots.
They require that. They require that you're a student. Which is the messed up thing. They're like, oh, you must be a student. I'm like, wait a second, what?
Yeah, and you have like these 15-year-old students managing, 30-year-old talent, like 10 30-year-old streamers that are streaming to tens of thousands of people. Like, it's insane. But, Muda, I don't know if you heard about this. So, we're talking about Nijisanji because, they're the biggest one that's imploding. However, did you ever hear of Wacker?
Oh, my God, Wacker's so bad.
Okay. Did you send me that?
I think I did send you that.
These guys make Nijisanji look like the comical villain compared to these guys are actually really bad.
So they look like Kenneth Copeland to Nijisanji's Jesus Christ. Okay?
Guys, I'm gonna be real. This is turning into a true crime podcast. Like, holy shit, this is not, like, I want to remind the audience when we're talking about this, like, we can laugh all we want, but these are like, no. And again, thank God they can't litigate. Can they litigate me here? I don't think they can.
I mean, they probably could, but I don't think they
could, but they're not going to.
Okay, well, these guys are scumbags, okay? Like, at the end of the day, they are scummy organizations. Yeah. And the reason why any awareness needs to be raised up is because the way that they're operating is almost reminiscent to how the Yakuza operate. I mean, it is, in some cases, very much how the Yakuza seem to operate. And that's, like, we gotta stand up against this kind of shit, because we're literally looking at, like, people who are getting away with emotional... I mean, for all seriousness aside, like, Doki Bird attempted on her life twice.
Correct.
Over the sheer shit that she went through. So it's like, you can't let an organization like this
also,
get the
people say that, well, Doki Bird won at the end. Dude, there is no amount of winning that makes it worth it. Okay? No. There's no such thing.
It's the least... The thing is, like, okay, yeah, this is the... of the shitty scenarios, this is the least bad, right?
Yeah, but, I guess.
I mean, let me put it this way. If you go through litigation is not fun. So let's say there was some lawsuit. Let's just pretend hypothetical here. That is a multi-year emotional and financial whirlwind. You do not want to be involved in that, especially if it's cross-border. It's going to be insane. She's going to be deposed. She's going to have all this other stuff put on the stand. Come on, that's not going to be good for her mental health. That's not going to be great for her. Also, she'll be doxxed.
She'll be super doxxed, but she has no money. Okay?
Right.
All her time working with Nijisanji, she hasn't been making any money because they haven't been funding her project, so she has to pay everything out of pocket. Which is like, at that point, what do? Aside from giving you a platform.
I mean, at that point, it's like YouTube MCNs are somehow, like, better. Like the actual multi-channel networks or somehow.
See, the thing is with VTuber agencies, it's much... There is a threshold to being a VTuber, okay? There's a threshold to being a streamer, right? You need a computer, you need a microphone, you need a camera, okay? That's how you're a streamer. To be a VTuber, you also need a probably around $4,000 VTuber model to actually be successful.
Competitive.
Okay? Yes, you could definitely go for a lower class, cheaper one, which is totally fine, and you could definitely succeed with it, but it'll be much, much harder. As hard as it is to break out on social media, it's even harder as a VTuber for no money. That said, Nijisanji is going to give you a model that you won't have to pay for, and they are going to put you in front of an audience of 100,000 to 1 million people overnight. This is a huge sell. It's a big deal, and for a lot of people that are just streaming for the passion of it, that now they can make it their career, that's a dream come true. And then they realize that, they're selling their soul to Lucifer. But it's not that I don't get the perspective of joining an agency. It's just, it's sucky. Wacker,
it's instant. Yeah, like you said, it's instant, fame,
it's
right?
Because
you're just part of Nijisanji. Like, you've made it beyond other indies, at least perceptively, right? The public is like, oh, they made the cut to actually get hired by an agency. They must be better, and they're debuted with other members.
Aside from must be better, dude, they're streaming in front of 10,000 people now. They have 100,000 Twitter followers. They are actually making a living. They have a tight-knit group of people that they could already collab with. Right? Like, you get a lot by joining the agency. It's just not worth the, 98% of merch revenue and 100% of sponsor revenue and 50% of donations and your soul.
Yeah.
Well, what they do is they sell
probably
you the hard...
a kidney.
What they do is they sell you, like, the hard part of being an influencer, which is building that initial audience. And then, your expectation is, I want to be... I guess I have to be treated like shit because they did what is one of the hardest things to do up front, right? Like, is build that initial audience.
Yeah, I mean I don't know about you guys, but I mean it took me to just get started and get rolling. Like it took me over a year of just spinning my wheels, throwing my own money into it, just like really not getting much traction, and then finally doing the right collaborations, getting the right topics, figuring out how to do it. I mean it's not easy. It is not easy, and you have to not quit multiple times when you feel like quitting, right? So like, so to be told you're going to instantly get that boost, that is something. It's not nothing.
No. It's definitely something. Yeah. But
I mean that is by far like when people ask like what is the hardest part of like this whole thing, and it's like it is literally getting past that initial hump, just because that is like that is the wall, right? Like if you don't build the audience, it's like so many people get demoralized. It's like that gambling meme when you're like picking for diamonds and shit. It's like so many people give up when they can succeed. There's a bit of there's luck involved in this. Okay, I don't want to pretend that they're not lucky in anything.
Certainly,
what they're selling is the ability for you to bypass luck, which is like, man, that's worth more than gold in this industry. So
it's worth
go ahead.
Yeah, and that's why you see like these are people that they didn't grow up on the internet. They didn't start a 1 follower and then got 10 and then got 100 and then got 1,000. They instantly got 100,000, and they fall for bait all the time on Twitter. I don't know if you've been seeing over the last week. The talents, some of them have been falling for obvious bait. Like one of them was told on one of their responses. Okay, I was going to say the other guy, the UQ Wilson. So another one of them, he says something along the lines of, "Oh, hey, I see that you're doing well. What about all the people that are harassed within your company?" And he actually responds to an anonymous Twitter guy saying, "Oh, did you make that opinion because drama YouTubers told you that?" And it's like, no.
Okay, we need to also like call the cancer that is like this weird criticism of everything that is illegal somehow being drama these days.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's drama. This has been really frustrating for me. It's like, well then what's your definition of news, right? Like you're just not going to get information anymore. Like when does it become drama, right? It's like when they're breaking the law that transcends
Andrew,
drama.
What's your thoughts on the Russia-Ukraine drama that's been going on lately?
Oh, dude, it's insane. I hope they get that. I hope they get that sorted out at some point.
I hope they squash the beef.
Yeah. Let's just.
No, but it's like, dude, and
it's
again,
serious, but that's not even a joke. Like it just becomes everything is drama because you don't define words anymore. Words have no meaning anymore. It's like calling somebody a Yahtzee, right? You know, it's like it means nothing, right? You know, it literally means nothing because it's just applied to everybody. So you've actually taken a word that meant something and now it means nothing.
I can hear the pain in this point, Andrew, for you, because as a lawyer, your whole job is the definition of words and meanings. It's like these people are just
so bad. It's like this means something.
No, but it's insane because like, you know, about 2 months ago I covered a situation with like charity fraud and shit. Like I looked through IRS stuff and they were like, "Is this like drama?" And I'm like, dude, last time I checked, financial scamming is not drama. This is like, well, you know what? I guess we have 2 entire divisions in the U.S. government that works in drama.
My favorite response to that when you call out charity fraud, and they're like, "Are you snitching for clout right now?"
I'm like, dude. I like sit there. I'm like, dude. You know what? I'm gonna call up the FBI office and be like, "So what's the new drama these days with you guys? Like, what drama are you guys stopping?" Like,
so
dude,
Epstein. The Epstein drama was crazy. The conclusion was kind of wild.
Dude. And again, even looking into it, it's just like the drama. I'm like, dude, I'm literally looking through his documentation, like the files that got released, because one of my things is like I always like to call the misinformation when it's there. So when this was coming out, everyone was bringing up like random names. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do what like everyone doesn't seem to be doing in this. I'm gonna download all the PDF files for myself. No pun intended.
Read all of it.
I'm gonna Control F my way through all of it because I'm like, that's what you can do, right? Like that's right. The thing that most people should do. It takes you, you know, if you're gonna talk about a topic, at least spend the 20 minutes it takes to download the files and like Control F the names that are popping up everywhere. Like what the.
Well, I get this in my sphere with people that'll talk about lawsuits because that's a big thing in the legal sphere to talk about lawsuits. And there's people out there, even lawyers, that won't read the complaint. And it's public, right? And like everybody can read this. Like it's in English. Like anybody, a non-lawyer can read it. And they won't even do that job. I'm like, you are an embarrassment. Like at that point, yes, it's drama because you haven't done the research, right? You haven't done any research at all.
Yeah.
You're just talking out of your ass, right? At that point, yes, I'm
Speaking of lawyers, I want to bring up one lawyer that blew my mind away with how inept they were, right? And far, we've gotten an apology from them. It was around the same, like...
Is this the Gerard guy?
It was the same Gerard situation. So this guy like shits on us for apparently not listening to this one side committing, charity fraud in our definition and the definition of legal work. And when we were asking him, like, did you watch the hour-and-a-half call we had where the guy admitted to everything we were accusing him of? And they were like, no, we didn't. I'm like, so how is it that you as a lawyer refused to look at one of the most pivotal pieces of evidence? I'm like, last I checked, that's your job, is to look through every... If I had you as a lawyer, I would want to die. Like, if I found out in a courtroom... Did you watch like 50% of the evidence that's been out? No, you didn't read through it. Well,
is that important?
I guess I'm screwed.
Yeah. Oh, should I have done that? It's like you have one job. You had one job. But lawyers are like any other profession. There's good ones and bad ones, right? And there's very competent lawyers out there. But there's also people that I'm frightened that they have a bar license. I'll say that too, right? There's both.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing about like any profession
I'm sure YouTube
too.
lawyers also. Like, I imagine that's a whole other breed.
It's a whole. It's like the YouTube
somehow the
lawyers
degree gives you the ability to say lawyer reacts to Better Call Saul and get 1 million views. Like that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It is what it is, and like people should consider what persons do and what people have a background in, right? Like my background is in like more corporate. I've done a lot of property, a lot of bonds, a lot of finance stuff. So I tend to try to stay looking at corporations, looking at, what corporations are doing, whether it's right or wrong, because that's my wheelhouse. And, when I see that, I tend to cover it, right? I've covered Disney, now I'm covering Nijisanji, right? Typically it's focused on that. I can do courtroom stuff. I took those classes, but it's not my specialty. I was never a litigator. In fact, I screwed up if my client goes to court. Right? I have actually screwed up. Right? But that's just understanding what you're good at and what you're bad at. Right? And I think a lot of people on YouTube, especially, they try to flex that they are skilled in things which they are not. Right? Or they're an expert in things they're not. And I think it's really dishonest. And honestly, I don't have much taste for that.
Yeah,
I mean, hope you don't use a highlighter effect in your videos because
I do not.
That's good because Legal Eagle has stole that from Illuminati a while back. The highlighter effect.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. It's really annoying. He can go off and make his like 98th Trump video and get 1 million views. It's fine.
Oh my god! The shade. The shade.
When I started out my career on YouTube, I was like, I'm gonna be like better than Legal and 100% less completely ridiculously biased, So no, that was one of my inspirations to get on. I'm like, this is the guy. Yeah, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's literally Saul Goodman versus Jimmy versus what's his face, Chuck McGill, right?
I mean, like any industry, there's going to be shade thrown around 100%.
Yeah.
Look, you know the people in the industry, right? So like when you're in an industry, like when you do it, who's who, right? And so you know how they do their stuff, how you do your stuff. You watch it as a lawyer, and I hear things that make me cringe. It's kind of like watching any sort of legal drama or show. I'll hear people be like, objection. I'm like, that's not how it works, right? Or like, there's a surprise witness. I'm like, yeah, that's illegal, right? Can't have just a random surprise witness walk in that's not on the witness list. Like, that's not how trials work, bro. Like, let's just be very clear about that.
Even when that was happening, I remember that the episode, the chicanery episode for Better Call Saul, when I saw it, I'm like, dude, I am the furthest thing away from a lawyer, and even I can tell you right now, I'd be writing to the AMC right now angrily. I'd be like, you scumbags.
No, dude, he actually put Huel on the witness list. Okay, he was on the witness list.
And then he got the witness to commit a crime.
Yes, he did. Well. No, it's technically not a crime. It's reverse pickpocketing. Okay, he put something in his pocket, which is not a crime.
Okay, all right.
It's generous. I say it is.
What did Netflix hire you to correct this online bias? Jesus Christ!
Hey, I love that episode. Okay, it's like my favorite episode in television.
It's a good episode. But Andrew, you raise a great point too. Like, as somebody in the profession, you're a bard. Like, you're a lawyer.
Yeah, Florida attorney.
I'm glad that I'm glad that you say that you have specializations and you don't like to speak out of pocket. It's the same thing with like even in our business too, right? Like when I talk about like computer science and everything, like I straight up tell them like cybersecurity, like the speciality. That's why I don't talk about like another completely different field in the world of computer science, because that's not something that I'm educated. I might have some slight understanding more than the average person, obviously, but I'm not trained, or I'm not like, you know, properly acquitted to discuss certain things. So I'm glad that you also agree, and you also say like, because there's so many people on the internet, there's so many doctors that I see who just pretend to be like medical experts on everything. And it's funny because I talked to my dad. My dad's a cardiologist, so like people think it's like, oh, that's like the top tier doctor. My dad's like, yeah, dude, I know about hearts and shit, okay? Like you ask me about the brain, I'm literally brain dead if you ask me. Like, I can't answer it.
That's like when you see like I don't want to get into conspiracy territory, but when you see like, you know, doctors on like YouTube doctors talking about how the vaccine works.
Oh, the Rona. Yes. Yeah. No, but that's actually that was actually the worst, because during that, and I actually got a strike over this. Like the doctors that knew what they were talking about and said, "Yeah, that's bullshit." Right? Those got in trouble. Right? Those doctors got in trouble. But it was the doctors that were like, "I'm a dermatologist, and you need to get your 17 boosters." Those people were allowed to talk, and they're like, "Oh, look, trust the science. Let's trust these guys." It's like, wait a second. Like
they are part of the Matrix.
You know,
break free.
I remember when that happened. It's like I remember when that happened. I asked my dad. My dad's like, you know, I know how a vaccine works, but here's another doctor that can answer. Here's actually 3 doctors I know who are more smarter than me on this topic.
Right.
It's like, what? Like, because like literally his answer is like, I know how hearts work, okay? Like I know how that. And my dad's like, I hate my job because every time I tell my patients, I'm like, lose some weight so you don't come in and I don't have to risk every day of my career working
my
on you.
My favorite COVID video on YouTube by far is Matt Pett made a video which video game characters can survive coronavirus. That is my favorite video, and he has a PhD, so technically he's also a doctor. So
okay.
So that's
I'm
my favorite video.
technically a doctor too. It's Doctor of Law. It's a Juris Doctorate. So technically I'm a doctor too, baby. Yeah,
dude, those are my favorite kind of videos, because like, you know, Matt Pat is the most well-meaning guy, and then you see a title like that, I'm like, dude, how
do you think of that? It's like this is not a trend to hop on. Like, what are you doing?
Because I kind of sit there, I'm like, dude, you have a whole ass team that could have told you this might not have been the hottest idea to post. Like, holy shit. No, but you know, speaking of like YouTubers, one of the discussions that we had, and I really want to ask you this too, because as a lawyer, you've worked how many hours like a week on cases, on documentation?
Oh God, I've on projects sometimes, especially when they're really pumping, because I did a lot of project development and a lot of big commercial real estate. I represented Universal Studios when I was in Orlando. Like a lot of this Epic Universe stuff that's coming out right now, I was like literally doing a lot of the entitlement work, the land development work, the purchasing for that. So like, it's really interesting. I can kind of talk about it now that it's no longer confidential, but I would put in some weeks, you know, 90-hour weeks easily. Like that was not
that sounds almost as hard as streaming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, hey, listen. I mean, your job doesn't sound like it was socially draining or anything. I mean, come on. As a lawyer, how often are you interacting with people on a daily basis? Really?
You know, to be fair, I did a lot more interacting with people because I had to go to a lot of like public meetings and stuff like that. I was actually like one of my skills is public speaking, which is why I like YouTube, right? But and most lawyers were like basement dwelling research nerds, right? You know, they never leave their office. Even the litigators, like the trial rarely happens in a civil context. Rarely, they always settle. So they're mostly in their office. They're mostly typing. They're mostly by themselves. They're mostly not out there socializing. We have social events, but what that really is, and it's kind of sad, is us sitting around and drinking like free whiskey sponsored by the Bar Association. You know, until we go home, pass out, and just wake up and do it again. You know, exactly. The bar sponsors the bar. You know. And yeah, no, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of research, a lot of sitting inside, and a lot of just working long hours when you need to.
So when you're saying your job was difficult,
it's happening.
I mean, do you stream by any chance?
Are you trolling me right now?
I think he doesn't see where we're going with this exactly.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yes, as a streamer, I am the most victimized category out there. I am peak on the victim chart. I am at the.
I'm just saying when you're streaming, I assume it's more draining than, I don't know, going to trial or something.
Oh, God, it's the worst.
Do that.
Oh,
Jesus
streaming
Christ.
is the worst. I would rather be sent to the gulag than stream.
So I want to give like the context. Every time we discuss any type of this shit, it's always the context bros that jump into the, like, with the flak jackets on into the comment section. So the context here is, you know, one of the largest streamers.
In Vosh's defense, okay?
We're not bringing up the horse stuff anymore. No,
Bad.
This is a topic that we can actually discuss on YouTube without being shadow banned. So Hassan Piker, one of the largest streamers, been on the show, friend of the channel, you know, good guy. We all disagreed, I would say, about like his discussion of what I would consider socially draining. Like, we've come from jobs. Everyone has come from a job here, right? When I look at YouTube and I look at live streaming, and I even like my worst stream, which was like 13 hours long years ago, you walk out of it, there is a socially draining aspect of it where you probably don't ever want to speak to somebody. But I feel like this is a job where you can walk into your office. You can literally walk to your office. You don't have to like drive anywhere. You don't have to do any of that bullshit. You walk to your office. You can swear all you want. You can be as raunchy as you want, and you make good money if you're successful. And it's money that you control. You're not paying. You're not kicking it back up to like a company and they're paying you a salary or something. Like, the fact that it was being compared to like retail work or anything, which is, by the way, the most soul-sucking, energy sapping shit you could imagine.
Specifically retail work. Like, that is like the breaker of people, right? I mean, it's two steps off from chattel slavery, right? I mean, it's pretty bad.
I mean, I'll say it right now, dude. I mean, a job at Staples meant that I would say that I was up, and like that was one of the first gigs that I ever had. First job, very young. All right, when you're young, you are susceptible. Child labor laws, they exist, but let's be honest, they don't give a shit about us. They don't give a shit about the kiddos yet. We work, we get paid shit, and it's supposed to be like you're started into the door. I have never ever experienced a job that is more soul sucking and meaningless than that. You know, working other jobs like cybersecurity, anything, it's like, yes, I would feel like going to an office, putting in 10, 12-hour days, like working from, there are days where you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., right? Like 6 days a week. It is an industry that doesn't respect your time or whatever. You get paid good, but that, you have nothing else. So the fact that when you're streaming and you walk away and it's like, man, my social batteries are drained, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't even consider it the same.
You could complain about streaming, okay? You could say that streaming, it drains your battery, you're tired as hell, you stream for 8 hours, you're allowed to complain. That is your God-given right as an American, okay? As much as you hate the country. But the point is, you're allowed to complain. It's the terrible comparisons that just look awful. Like,
if you just complain in a vacuum, that's fine, right? But when you start comparing it to work and saying it's worse than this, that's when I'm like, okay, now you lose me, bro, because you're not out here, like I said, you're not out there, working the Oregon Trail, you're not out there on the Deepwater Horizon, you're not out there working at Wendy's, you're not
all
working.
You guys watching my stream right now that are struggling to get Wi-Fi because you have an outpost in Afghanistan, all you guys, it's not as socially draining as what I do, you should know.
I mean, it's one thing, like, if you, like, the thing is, like, I would probably sit there and be like, why is everyone complaining if you just walked out and said, yeah, it sucks when you stream for, like, 9 hours, dude. I feel like wiped at the end of the day. And I'm like, I get it.
Valid complaint.
Your eyes are dry, your head probably hurts.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what anybody is like when they're at a computer talking for, like, after a stream, sometimes my throat hurts. I don't complain about it. I'm just like, dude, that's what happens when you're speaking for hours on end, right?
Also, you recognize the fact that you have the ability to not stream.
Yeah, and that was one of I raised that point. I raised the point up. I'm like, because when I got like criticism from like the 13-year-old communists in my like comment section, I'm like, hold on a minute. When you work a 9 to 5, you don't get to turn off and like go home. I don't get to tell my boss, I'm tired. I'm gonna go home. No, they fire my ass if I do that. Yeah. On a stream, it's like, the most beneficial thing is after you've made good money, you can just say, all right, guys, I'm done for the night. Good night. Bye. Take care. End the stream and do your own thing. That is the most privileged, like, blessed job you could ever imagine. And I believe Hassan even said that too. He's like, yeah, this is a blessed job.
As a successful streamer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're streaming, just to make barely ends meet, okay? If you're freaking working for Nijisanji, okay? Like,
I mean, if you're in slave labor, sure.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
right, exactly.
yeah.
I
You're
get it,
making
I get
2%
you.
of merch revenue, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I work for the Yakuza. Yeah, then your arguments are pretty much like
Very valid
understandable.
argument.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very valid. But like, if you're streaming, making literally millions of dollars, like millions of dollars.
My other thing too is like, even when I discuss the whole thing, it's like I'm like, look, as a business owner myself, YouTube is not like a primary job for me. Like as a business owner, property asset development, stuff like that, I go into work every day, right? Like my only off day is Sunday, and as a business owner, like, and I'll say it, a Sunday isn't a day off. It's just a day to prepare for the week again. That's it. And I've always said, and like the funniest thing is, it's like I have to explain to people, I'm like, dude, as somebody that takes a risk, just bring the initial capital with my partners and start a company, and then we hire people later. Like you get into like, it becomes this esoteric discussion about like the means of production and capitalism. I'm like, dude, we're literally talking about like a stupid take. That's it. Like it's a dumb take, Yeah. And I'm like, and when I sit there, I'm like, look, I can complain about a million problems in society. I know that it's way out of my scope to fix it. All I can do is try my best to live within it and make something out of it,
And beyond that, I mean, if you look at it, especially with young people, I think they polled, everybody wants to be what? What's the number one thing they always...
A streamer.
A streamer.
They
YouTuber,
all want to be content creators, always.
But again,
universal.
a lot of people want to be things that they don't realize how much work it is
This is
beforehand.
true.
So
This is
that's
true.
not necessarily an argument.
But it still makes it desirable, right? Other people desire and covet what you have. Now, obviously, a lot of times they covet it because they don't know what it entails. They don't know whether they'll have the skills for it or not. They just covet it to covet it. I mean, it happens with lawyers a lot. There's a lot of people I see in law school that are not really equipped to be lawyers because they don't know what the job really is. They watch Legally Blonde and they think that means they can go out there and kind of, rock the world and make $1 million and ride off with Chad. But obviously, that's not exactly what happens when you become a lawyer. You end up pinned behind a desk and most of your social life goes to shit, right? So I can see that. But at the same time, when you, like you mentioned, when you want to take a day off, it's even beyond that. You don't have to ask anybody, and it can be any time you want. So let's say you just covered something big, you've made big money, and you want to take 2 or 3 days off. Maybe you want to take a week off. It really doesn't matter that much. You can just do that, right? You can actually go ahead and do that if you need to do that, right? And you can actually set it up so that maybe you schedule content to come out, you have videos that are rolling out, you pre-recorded, you go on vacation. That's amazing. And you don't have to ask anybody but yourself, right? It's only incumbent on yourself to do that. That's kind of unparalleled.
It's probably stressful. I'm not saying
Sure.
it's not. It's the comparison that's just incredibly out of touch.
I think there's also a big difference too. Like I kind of hate the conflation of like streaming and like YouTube content creation. Like working on an investigation where you're like reading through the IR. I'm gonna say it for the record, okay? You want to know something mentally draining? And you as a lawyer, Andrew, you can agree with this. Reading the Internal Revenue Code.
Oh yeah. I know. Yep.
So every time in a video, I'm like, I'm not a lawyer, so please talk to a lawyer if you want like actual like this is just me understanding it. So I'm reading through the IRC and I'm like, and that's what came into my head when I saw that take. I'm like, dude, you want to know something mentally, socially draining? Reading the Quran, like internal revenue documentation. It's like holy shit. It's insane. Like I was reading through the IRC because I wanted to like understand like what the actual laws were broken, and I'm reading through it. I'm like, dude, there's like subsection 4, like. There was one I was reading. It was like subsection 4 bracket I, subsection E2. I'm like, dude, how does a lawyer, like, how does an accountant look through this? Like, there's a big ass tooltip in the Internal Revenue documentation, like a tooltip this big that tells you check the please. It's like the DMV of documentation. It's like, oh, you want to find out what's here? Go to this page. Oh no, you go to that page. Go to this section. Open up that like, dude, what the?
Well. So two things there. Number one, they keep it intentionally dense because it's a gatekeeping instrument to keep the tax processing services and the tax lawyers in business. And number two, there's a reason why, for example, even when the
That
lawyers,
is so cringe. I think
know it's true though.
It's
true.
insane to me that the law is not comprehensible for the layman.
It's meant to be that way.
Why am I supposed to keep the law if I can't even understand it?
So you pay us money for it, Nux. That's why.
That's stupid. That's cruel. That's evil.
Well, yes,
dude.
yes.
That's literally that's accounting
horrible.
in general. That's accounting in general.
It's the truth. It's the truth. And like, people won't want to say it. They're like, Andrew, why are you telling them shut up? I'm like, I don't care. What are you going to do to me? But the second part is, look, in tax law, you literally have to get a specific certification. I have to say, if I'm going through tax law, like, I am not a tax specialization lawyer, because that's an extra degree. You actually, most people who do tax go get an extra degrry on top of their law degree, an extra 2 years or a year at least.
I did not know that.
Yes, in the U.S. In the U.S. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's so wild. Like, I go onto like the internet and I look at like the Eastern European countries. They have like a website portal, like just a simple website portal. It's like, how much you owe? Yeah, so I'm like, I wish it was that simple.
It's so complicated to pay taxes. I'm trying to give you my money, okay? Dude, please.
Like 2 years ago, the smartest thing we ever. You know, the most important person at our company is not me, not any other partner. It's the CFO. The CFO is an actual partner now.
Yes.
Because when we hired her like 2 years ago, we were just like, listen, I don't know how the. We were doing like our taxes like morons. We were doing them like, you know, it's not like we weren't doing them like illegally or anything. I'm just saying like the way that we structured companies.
Careful now.
And the way that we did like the way that we were like
dumb,
operating.
not criminals.
Yes.
No,
It's like this is tax minimization, not tax evasion, right? Be very clear.
No, like,
one of them is legal, one of them's
like,
not.
The way that I can explain it the best is like we used to have like we didn't have holding companies.
Sure.
Like, that was funny. We didn't know like what the, because we always thought like holding companies was for like the really big companies, right?
Sure.
So we had like all of our cash in like operating like companies, like our operating accounts. Mm-hmm. So holdco, opcos, whatever. And like it wasn't until our CFO came in and it's like, have you guys ever been sued? We're like, no. Why? It's like, you probably should move your assets to something else. I'm like, we were learning about this shit like 2 years after we hired somebody who was wading us through.
Keep your horse with the taxes.
Yeah, dude, like literally, our tax lady was like, "So do you talk to the IRS?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, occasionally we do. We have U.S. stuff." It's like, why don't you have like separated business? Why are you giving the IRS all of your documents? Because we used to do that under the company. We would give them all of our Canadian information to the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. Like, why are you giving those Americans everything? Separate the branch. Moron.
But it's true though, because it's true, because there's eventually going to be something that like both sides want, and you end up in these scenarios where you're essentially double paying. You're like, okay, I've got to pay you and I got to pay you, because you're both interpreting your tax code different ways. So now you're just double paying, and at the end of the day, it's going to fall on you. You can fight it as much as you want. You're going to end up paying. Right? It's just
I'm a dual citizen, okay? I'm American and I'm Canadian, okay? It's absolutely insane. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's awful, okay? So listen, so there's a tax treaty between the United States and Canada. So I only have to pay taxes in Canada because that's actually where the higher bar of taxes is. And then I need to actually fill out all my taxes through the United States as well, because they own a piece of your soul, okay? They're like super Nijisanji, okay?
Right.
They also own you a little bit. So the way it works is, if you're a Canadian resident, then you have to pay taxes in Canada. However, if you're an American citizen, you have to pay taxes in America. So if you're a resident in Canada, you technically have to pay taxes in both. And that's where the tax treaty comes into. You only need to pay the country where it's more, and then you file taxes to the other country. But here's where it gets insane. If you want to run a business, then you have to incorporate it, right? You make an LLC. Limited Liability Corporation.
Correct.
That works in the United States to help a lot in regards to not needing to pay taxes for business expenses and certain things. However, an LLC is not recognized by Canada. It has its own thing, and its own thing is not recognized by the United States. I cannot incorporate.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't incorporate my company properly, okay? Because no matter what I call it, I'm just going to need to pay the extra money that I would be saving to the other country.
Oh, that's...
Tell me why that makes sense.
It makes zero sense at all whatsoever. Zero.
Dude, and this is the thing about like anything, like, I'm glad that you compared like the U.S. like government to Nijisanji here, because that's actually the best.
It's very accurate.
Listen, it's one thing we all can agree on, no matter what. If you're on both sides of the law, whether you're like doing your job completely legally or you're like multinational drug dealer, if you're not paying Uncle Sam his dues, they're gonna come out. Like, it's insane when I was like researching the IRS.
They will terminate.
No, that is the number one thing. Like, you know, you can around with a lot of things, but not the tax man. Not the tax man, right? I mean, ask Wesley Snipes. You know, I mean, you can do you can do a hell of a lot, but don't mess with your taxes.
Well, even like the tax stuff. It's funny because when I'm looking into the IRS, I'm like, they have the only division in any country's tax system where they have literal like actual agent, like combat like ready field agents. Like if you don't pay your tax and you hide in the Amazonian rainforest, they'll send badged armed agents like special operators, and they'll get their money.
Well,
they
and
don't
if you
fuck around.
and if you're American, you're kind of screwed because you got to report. You know, I live abroad. I'm in Asia, right? And you have to report all of your bank accounts. So, like, you know, all of your bank accounts that go over $10,000 are mandatory to be reported back to the U.S. So, like, you're going around, and you're thinking, oh, I'm in another country. Nuh-uh. IRS is going in there and looking at every single one of those, which is kind of ridiculous.
Okay, you think my finances were screwed until here, Andrew? Get ready for this bombshell. When I first monetized my YouTube channel, I was in Israel. Okay?
Oh, God.
So
Yeah.
the way YouTube works is that they're only going to allow you to open up a bank account in the country that you monetize your channel.
Okay.
I obviously had no idea this was the case. I had, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I wasn't making any money, okay? I was making $12 and $16 here and there. I was on vacation and I monetized it because it's just like a little pop-up. It pops up, you click monetize, and that's fine. And then they said, okay, now attach an Israeli bank account. I'm not an Israeli citizen. So I had to go find out a way to make an Israeli bank account that I could attach to the YouTube account. And then I had so much money sitting in the Google AdSense at that point, around $250,000, that I wasn't able to access because I couldn't actually get them to send it to a Canadian or an American bank account. It had to be an Israeli one. I had to go back to Israel. I had to make an Israeli bank account for them to send the $250,000. And then guess what? Israel froze the bank account. Where's all this coming from? Who is this Google person that's sending you all?
Look,
Right? It is.
If an
And I go to
unfunded
them
bank
all these
account,
documents and everything. All these documents trying to prove it. No, literally nothing. And now I have more money accumulating in a Google AdSense account that's like, well,
Dude,
attach a different Israeli bank account.
I had
Obviously,
I had the same situation here in like Canada. So like not with like at one point. So this is the scariest thing about tax people, right? Like when they call you up on the phone, it is the scariest shit. It's like your dad is calling you up and
Yeah.
he's just visibly angry. So you get a call. It's like, hi, I'm so and so. This is my badge number. I'm calling from Vancouver. I'm like,
True.
hold on, lady, you're giving me your badge number? What the? What's going on? She's like, we sent you a letter like in the tax website. So you go to the tax portal and like you open the little letter. It's like you owe $200,000 in sales tax. It's like, so are you gonna pay that by the end of the week? I'm like, what? What do you mean I owe you $200,000? She like puts a flag down on the account and like the way they scare you. Like I almost was like, shit, I might as well just pay the bill. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it back. But I don't want to get in trouble with them.
$200,000 is not worth prison.
So I call up my CFO, and my CFO's like, nobody goes to prison. First off, and second of all, you give me her badge number. You give me her number right now, and I'll call. So like 30 minutes later, I'm sitting in my like office. I'm like, shit, what are they talking about? And she gives me a call. It's like, it's all good. I told her what you do. It's fine. I'm like, wait, you got it sorted out? She had thought that like apparently we were doing like sales work through like we were selling items on like Google or like through the ads or something. So she was wondering if we were collecting sales tax on everything.
Oh yeah, trying to get a VAT. Yeah.
Yeah. So like all my account did was she's like, I just sent her the Google AdSense terms and conditions, and she's like, oh, I get it. I'm like, why are you scaring him? It's like, what the. He's out there thinking that he owes like 6 figs to the government. I'm like, and that's like, dude, we all could make like a whole series of like just the IRS and like everyone's experience with them, like YouTubers and their stories.
I've had some nightmare.
It is nightmare because when they catch up, the thing is, in the beginning, people don't think about it, but it compounds, right? And the IRS is like Pepperidge Farms. They never forget, right? They 100% will come at you later. And there's a lot of this stuff there's not a statute of limitations on. So they'll roll this stuff out for a significant period of time.
I don't even want to like name names on certain influencers, but I've had like discussions where it's like, you know, I like talk to them, and we're at like a party.
Dude,
and,
what
like,
do your tax forms look like? Wait, you have to pay taxes?
No.
Literally, that was the funniest shit I ever heard. This is the funniest
We're
shit.
thinking of the same guy, I think.
I was in a I was in a party in like Los Angeles,
Oh,
right?
no,
Like,
never
we were
mind.
just because we were just talking about like shots and we were just talking about like taxes and everything because we were from like Canada. And so the discussion was hilarious because I'm like, oh, how do you have your thing set up with the CRA? Like, do you do this, and that? And it's like, Yeah, I don't know how to pay taxes yet. It's been 4 years since I've been doing YouTube. I don't really know how that process works. I'll get around to it eventually. And like in my head, I'm like, oh God, oh you sweet summer child. I'm like, wait a minute. You've been making all this money, and then when I'm like asking them, like you set some aside for taxes, right? It's like, no, when I do it eventually, I'll pay that year off. And I'm like, oh. Ooh, I don't want to tell you about when they come down.
And also,
that's not how it
I've
works.
spoken to someone about that also. Okay, so I think, I'm not going to mention any names here, obviously. But I was talking to someone, and they're like, well, I don't, like, share my identity publicly, so I don't think, like, they'll know it's me. I'm like, oh, they'll know it's you. Oh,
Yeah, they
they'll
will
know it's
trace
you.
that. They know
Yeah, but
entirely
like,
know
but
that's you. Come on.
my money I'm making is through donations. Like, should they really get from my donations? Like, it's a present. I'm like, oh.
Well, even that discussion, they were just like, because I'm just sitting there, I'm like, do you have a bank account? It's like, yeah. Then they know. They always
they know. They already know. If it hits
That's
your
why
bank account, they know. Unless
there's
you're
this one
doing it in
political streamer.
cash. In cash or like gold bars, like
There's
they know,
a political
right?
streamer. Oh God, I don't remember his name. Xanax or something. That's not his name. It starts with an X. He keeps all of his money in a PayPal account. He never wants to put it into the bank. God, what's it? Xander Hall. This happened to him. He only had a PayPal account, and he would put all of his money directly into the PayPal instead of ever transferring it to a bank so that the government can't find it or something. I don't know if that's true, but anyway. Like he at some point his PayPal got hacked because it was linked to his Steam, and someone logged into his Steam and took all. It's like just
I know something. I know something even wilder with the PayPal story, because when I had another person who was like, because a lot of people I knew put their money into PayPal or whatever. They're like, because they were with NCNs and they would pay them to the PayPal as the wire. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there like, it's fine. PayPal's a bank. It's FDIC insured. I'm like, how much do you have in there? And it's like, maybe 300,000. I'm like, dude, you are over the limit for insurance. Government
hate to break it to you. Yeah, hate to break it to you.
And I'm pretty sure PayPal's not FDIC insured. I would know that, but okay, sure.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with crypto, right? Like people will put it in the crypto, be like, oh, they don't see it. I'm like, did you cash that out through an exchange? Oh yeah, I put through Coinbase. The government knows, right?
Dude, I love crypto stuff, dude. I love the information. I love the crypto community and the influences around it. There was a part of me where I was like, I hope these people start getting arrested or something happens. Now I'm just like, dude, I want them to keep scamming, dude. I love when influencers scam with crypto.
It just becomes giant news that everybody covers, and
it's just
no, that's not news. That's drama.
Yeah,
it's
true.
It's
circle.
drama.
Full
it's drama when
circle.
people lose millions of dollars. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
They get scammed out of millions. That's just drama, right?
Did you hear about the financial scam drama that's been going on? It's been crazy.
Wait, which one? Yeah, exactly. I mean, but that's the market we're kind of looking into. So I mean, I guess to whittle it on back to like the lads over at like Nijisanji and this VTuber stuff too. I mean, the drama that is around actual exploitation of like workers and everything too.
Okay, Muda, I'm going to tell you a story. You have to tell me if you think this is a true story or I'm making it up right now off the top of my head. There's a VTuber agency that had a talent that wanted to quit to focus on her time as a full-time nurse. And so the agency said, if you do quit, then you're a quitter. And if you're a quitter, we are going to tell on your hospital that this is what you did, and we are going to make sure that they fire you, and you will not be able to get a job as a nurse anywhere unless you continue working for this agency. True or false?
I want to say this is false, but I know it's true.
Allow me to introduce you to Wacker, okay? This is not even their worst story.
No. They've got some like Harvey Weinstein type stuff going on there too. So yeah.
Okay, so let's undress Wacker real quick. Let's try to understand this evil. So Nijisanji, we know they're evil, right? These guys are the devil incarnate, is the way that I'm being presented. So like, what is kind of the rough
super devil? Right? They are the first ring of hell. Wacker's the ninth.
Mm-hmm. And they realize the power disparity is clearly on their side. They know they're in Japan. They know they have the power. In this case, with Wacker, a lot of the people they abused or rather took advantage of were like the Spanish-speaking content creators, right? So they were in other countries that was not Japan. They didn't have links to Japan. They couldn't kind of respond appropriately. There was also some, I think one was Thai as well, and other places outside of Japan. And they just fully abused the control because they knew at any point they can pull the rug. They knew at any point they could do that. And on top of that, they actually went as far as doxing their talent, right? They knew that, hey, your identity is something to put out there. Nijisanji didn't do this, right? Wacker actually hard doxed the people on Twitter, right? Just put out their termination notice, posted it just like Nijisanji, but with their real names, right? That's a different level, especially for a VTuber, right? Like it goes far beyond just everyday being assholes.
I mean, that's not even like a redacted, like nothing,
No,
like just straight up.
That's aside from the fact that they had to there were talent that came out saying that they were forced to give sexual favors to people in management. Like
straight up.
Like that was what they said.
And so, like, I guess the question is, like, what is the government of Japan doing about this? Because it just seems like the situation can't last.
Well, these are not Japanese citizens. So, once again, to a certain level, the government of Japan, number one, may not know about the scope of it, right? Because remember, there's the hard language barrier. People forget, look, as much as people go over and find it fun to teach English in Korea and Japan and all that stuff, the English fluency, especially at the higher levels, is very, very low, right? And they're not hearing these stories from both sides. Even now with Nijisanji, we are just seeing this stuff being translated back into Japanese, right, from the English perspective, because they're like, why are people freaked out about this? They don't know. They're not getting that other side, right? So with Wacker, they just were not hearing this other side of the story. It's only now, I think, in the wake of Nijisanji that some of these stories are going to be retranslated back, and there may be some movement, there may be some push in the light of this, right? But before this, I really don't think there was as much pushback because, frankly, what is a poor foreign worker going to do? And by the way, when I worked in Korea, I talked with a lot of these company folks, and they would kind of say it that, look, our remedy is you go home, right? Is that you go home at a certain point and you're not going to complain to the labor board when we work you too long. You're not going to complain to the business bureau, right? Because you're leaving. You won't be here for a lawsuit. By the time the lawsuit is conducted, you're going to be gone. So that's what a lot of these people bank on. And frankly, there's a point to it. Are these livers, these VTubers that don't have any financial resources to begin with because they weren't given any money, going to have hundreds of thousands for a multinational lawsuit? No, of course not.
Where again, even with the lawsuit, you have to contend with both legal systems
And also,
at the same time.
What's winning? There's no such thing as winning these lawsuits either.
No, you spend more money. You spend more money litigating it than you would even gain. Your damages are going to be nothing, right? So you're going to collect a pittance compared to what you spend, and you're going to be emotionally, physically drained. You're going to be traveling to Japan for depositions. No, you don't want to do that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and there's somebody that's like faced the threat of 2 international lawsuits in the span of 2 consecutive months each. Like, discussing the financial cost of just an American and a Canadian lawsuit is... And for anybody watching, it's no joke. It's like you're looking at minimum 6 figures. Like, that's the minimum.
So, yeah, people got on me a little bit about when I said the quote for an international lawsuit was like $500,000. I'm like, I think that's kind of conservative even for an international lawsuit, especially with like top-tier lawyers like litigating over years where the company drags it out. It can go above that because once again...
Nijisanji is a $3 billion company. They're not, another YouTuber that's upset at you for calling them out.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, you have to recognize, and I'm sure you know a lot more about this than I do, but slander in America versus in Japan are very different. In America, slander is when you make a false statement about somebody to hurt their reputation. In Japan, it's when you make any form of statement with the intention to hurt the reputation. Even if it's true, it's still slander.
Yeah, so I have to give
good luck fighting that.
I have to get the I'm not a Japanese lawyer disclaimer like a million times because the spags will freak out on me. But the plain English reading, you can read a lot of this in English. Even if you say something that's true, in America, that's a defense to defamation. So if I say you're a criminal and you are a criminal, that is a defense. But that's not how it works in Japan. It doesn't just have to be true. It has to be true and support the quote-unquote public good. So there's this analysis that the judge has to do about whether what you said was in the good of the society as a whole, which is some fagazi, which, once again, you can see... what does that mean? What does that mean?
So hold on. Let's do like a little check on this. Let's say that somebody was defrauding people out of millions of dollars in Japan, right? So if you were to make a statement and say this person was defrauding them for millions of dollars, would that be beneficial because your statement is ultimately for the good of the people?
It depends, because maybe they were defrauding them for a purpose that was that like half of it went to charity and half of it was used in a proper way, but half of it wasn't. So because they don't want to make the half that was used properly look bad, they're like, okay, well, you shouldn't have said it in public. You should have quietly done this, right? You should have not made a public statement. Remember, defamation is public, right? So they're like, you should have done this another way. You get what I'm saying here? The biggest one would be like a mistress, right? Like saying, oh, this person has a mistress, right? For example, that's very wrong in many places over here, because you're kind of outing something that should be private and you're making it public, right? And it's against the public good. It doesn't benefit the public for you to out somebody's mistress. So boom, you're hit with defamation, even if it's true.
Wild.
It's crazy. But it's you got to understand the culture. It's a cultural difference. There's the public-private face that is a huge thing over here in East Asia that's just not a thing in the West. We don't have that same concept. So trying to understand that for a lot of people just blows their mind. I'm like, that's just how it is. You gotta live with that. That's reality.
No, I mean, like, for Asian cultures, being, like, you know, from South Asia, being from India, it's like, I can understand, it's like, there's definitely, like, you know, you want to keep things hush-hush, especially when it's something, you know, that can be very, I guess, socially damaging, right? Like, somebody's, like, perception. Obviously, when you're in the States, it's like, you know, we don't have that same perception, we don't have that same understanding. And I guess that's where the whole situation kind of like comes into a fold for a lot of these VTubers in general, because it's like, if you're from here, you want to make sure you get, you know, what's fair to you. And obviously what's fair to you is never going to be what's fair to the company or the Japanese public.
And Japanese law is not the remedy for people in the West, right? It's just not the appropriate thing. People in the West, their expectations are too different. And that's why it's got to be, there's got to be some sort of arbitration or alternative, like having a subsidiary, because otherwise you're just never going to get a remedy that seems right. It's just going to constantly seem that way. And look, there'll be good corporations, right, that'll do the right thing. But there'll also be occasionally the Wackers and the Nijisanjis that just get away with stuff that really would be inexcusable if it happened in Canada or the US.
Well, the amount of money that's being generated over here, and like some of these like actual like VTubers are generating like what we would consider to be like a really well-oiled small business, you know? When you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, you go beyond just like a celebrity. You go to somebody that can hire people and start small enterprises. I'm wondering, like, when is it going to be when like the state government or the federal governments here decide to enforce, like, hey, if you're going to make money here on talent, you need to be able to have some organization or
I think
some
they're
sort of
moving
structure.
that way. I know Canada's getting a little bit more protectionist with its regulation in regards to social media and content creation, but I do think we're going to move into an era where it says, okay, you've got to have something there. And look, you're also seeing the blossoming of companies that are starting up in North America, right? Famously, Phase Connect, right? Phase Connect is in Canada. I think we're going to see more of that, because people are going to say, I don't want to sign with a Japanese company if this is the culture that is pervasive in Japan. And there's nothing that's stopping an American company from coming up, other than they're going to need to build up their sponsors, they're going to need to build up their reputation. But it can be done. And this is a growing industry that's not going anywhere. So I think it would behoove folks to look at that as a potential area for expansion, corporate expansion, in terms of being in the U.S.
Another streaming. It's another subset of content creation that's not going
because
anywhere.
as of right now, I think the situation is there's not enough choice, right? Like, the largest organizations are pretty much structured in the same way. It's like, what are you going to do? Give up one predatory organization for another slightly less or maybe more predatory organization? It's like, you really don't have... I mean, there are good companies. I don't want to say that there aren't, but it's just like the ones that have the most attention and the money to like bring on some of these newer talent, the most exploitative ones it unfortunately seems like they're the worst type of companies to be, you know, working with, I would say.
Particularly the ones that are in Japan. I would say particularly the ones that are in Japan, because of the cultural differences.
Yeah, because this whole time, like, when I started doing this, I thought Nijisanji N, like the English-speaking variant, was at least like some American division,
I thought
right?
that too. I originally, when I first came onto this and I knew nothing, I thought it was a subsidiary.
It's a Japanese company that's trying to tap into a new audience. Like, that's literally it.
They never bothered to spin it off. They never bothered to spin it off and to incorporate it anywhere, which shows you they weren't. But
that shows you, and I would say that comes across as almost malicious intent, because obviously if you were going to set up an organization here, and look, as a Canadian, working even in the YouTube business, I work a lot with American companies, like companies that don't have any Canadian presence. It's fine because we are protected by laws that, cover us across the border to an extent.
Sure.
Not with this. We understand that there's some protections a Canadian can have against an American company. We can use American laws to combat them if they're taking advantage of us. We understand that. With a Japanese company, it's like, dude, you're signing into a company that can terminate you pretty much at any given moment without any severance or anything of that nature. And the emotional abuse that people go through, it's like, the whole argument is like, how do you litigate that in America? They have no American asset or entity. It's like, what are you going to do? Go up against a company for abusing you?
Yeah.
Well, in America and Canada, we share a language. We share generally the same culture. I mean, y'all have more poutine than we do. But I mean, other than that, there's not much of a difference for us perceptually. We understand each other's legal system. We can, right? We've given enough time, given enough reading, right? We can understand
also, I feel like
each
there's
other.
so much more precedent to Canada versus America lawsuits, right? I feel like that happens pretty frequently. So many businesses are Canadian and American.
Sure.
How much precedent is there really between a talent agency that operates under idol culture standards in Japan working with talent that's purely American over the internet? Like zero precedent.
I tried to find it, and there really is not. There's really little precedent. There's even little precedent in like a lot of these international litigation contexts. There's very, very little evidence. I found one case in Canada about a contract that was voided. This was went up to the Supreme Court of Canada. There's a contract that was voided because the Supreme Court of Canada found it was unconscionable because they required arbitration in The Hague in Netherlands, and it was just like, this is unreasonable. We're not going to do that, right? But there's very little on this because frankly most litigation has gone internally, like within a country or within big interests in major companies, right? Not like corporation versus corporation, not individual talent versus giant Japanese billion-dollar company with, what is it, the youngest billionaire in the world almost next? Am I correct about that?
Yeah, I think the youngest billionaire in Japan.
In Japan.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's another thing, too, when it comes to like lawsuits and litigation, too. It's like the people, and this is why I didn't talk too much about the Doki Bird lawsuit in general, because it's like, part of me, like, I didn't want to just outright in a video say I'm like, she probably shouldn't keep pursuing the litigation, like as sad as it is to sound. Just because, like, even if you are 100% on the right, the other side, like we all just said, it's a $3 billion company. It's like, what are you going to do? Went up against like a company that has a limitless war chest of cash?
Best solutions to settlement. Best solutions to settlement. Where people walk away, she might walk away with a little cash because one of the allegations is she put a lot of cash into her projects. So maybe, hey, they give her $15K, $20K, well, whatever, maybe $100K. Who cares? She walks away with the money.
It means nothing to them.
That's a rounding error. Right? Like
it's negligible.
Negligible. It's truly negligible.
Yeah, exactly.
As they said, their SEC filings, as their stock dropped like 30% or something. But anyways, like just do that, walk away. Everybody signs. Maybe there's a final statement, that we settled it. It's all good. So things calm down and things go away. But as it stands, it's just been a giant black eye for Nijisanji, and it's going to be used constantly as an example of, frankly, a corporate mismanagement. I mean, this incident will be a classic example of corporate mismanagement.
I mean, again, prediction time, there's going to be another Japanese VTuber agency that starts up, and it'll be an primarily English-focused, and coincidentally, a lot of the Niji talent is going to end up leaving Nijisanji and joining this one, which is a spotless reputation. Yeah. Now, this new one, that has nothing to do with that one, aside from all the people behind the scenes, is going to have a new face and CEO, and it's all going to be nice and kosher and beautiful.
Yes.
I think the other big thing that I want to also talk about too is like when they had the other talents almost serve as public mouthpieces against this one person. Like they were out there like doing their PR statements through like 3 other VTubers, which made no sense to me.
And especially the fact that the VTubers that did that, they started off by saying like, we're doing this, we volunteered to do this, and it's like, did you volunteer to do that? You have no idea. You're a sock puppet, okay? We don't know.
And there's so many potential legal issues that creates by having these people come out there and speak, particularly since they're also the ones allegedly involved in the quote-unquote harassment, right? So, like, you would never do this doing any sort of PR/legal analysis, which is, it's the most sloppy thing ever to have these folks come out here with these statements and make these definitive statements about the facts when you really don't even know what the facts are yet, and we really haven't, gone through that and sussed that out. But you've got Vox Akuma who's saying, hey, no, I've gone out and thoroughly reviewed documents, which, surprise, surprise, are supposed to be completely private, right, under anybody's privacy law. Canada, Japan, whatever. These should not have been public documents or documents that were distributed to him. So,
Well, some of those documentations involve like medical history, which even in Canada,
Correct.
It's like, we have PPETA just for that. I've discussed this in videos before. It's like how you could distribute that information and expect not to have some backlash is insanity. It's like
correct. And the thing is, it deserves to be called out, even though they will never collect under PPETA, because trying to enforce PPETA to collect a judgment would be almost impossible. Us talking about it and being like, this is a violation of PPETA, right? If you read PPETA, it says medical history, just like you said, is a protected piece of information. They passed this out. It seems like they circulated this. And us just calling them out for violating it is, in a way, a good court of public opinion. There's bad court of public opinion, but that's good. That's in the way of saying, you really did violate this, even if she will never bring this case in court.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all we really want to do is like put pressure legally on this work, and the best thing you can do with a company like this that will win in the court
is humiliate them.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the only thing you can do.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
That's how they treat their people, and that's how they need to get it back.
I really don't see like a PR comeback for this company, and nor do I want to see one. I really do think like the public perception, at least even at, like obviously outside just the VTuber sphere, like when we're talking again to lawyers, to people that don't know about this industry, all we can see is it's the worst type of predatory company that you would see in movies. You would see as like a villain company.
Yeah.
And
it's like Shinra.
Unfortunately, it's real. Yeah. It's like it's a Shinra Electric Power Company. Yeah. Without the Mako reactors and the crazy dudes with the 50-foot buster
They have
swords.
waifus. I mean, it's close.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty jarring at how bad they are, right? And it's almost comical. And it also is just such a different standard to try to rush out with public statements. Once again, there's a lot of Japanese cultural stuff coming up because in idol culture, in idol world, you release a lot that's public. You don't hide information about your idols. So they're going through these checklists that might have worked in the idol world, but now you're talking about VTubers, and you're also talking about people in other countries. It's just a completely miscalibrated strategy, which clearly was not meant for a Western audience.
I think the best way to kind of end this and talk about this is to speak more towards the newer VTubers that are coming into this industry. Look, there's predation. We've known that there was predation for a long time. We know with this Nijisanji case that like it's in one of the biggest organizations, all right, and it's prevalent. These people are scummy. What is the best advice to offer to somebody who wants to be a VTuber? Right, and they want to work with the company. Like, let's just say they don't want to, because, like we said, the allure of having like that luck gone away, you getting into this business right from the get-go, it's great to have it. But like, what protections should be sought before you even commit?
Read the contract, right? Very, very carefully. And if you have to pay somebody who's an expert, right, to read that contract and tell you exactly what you're signing up, it is worth it. It is worth the $250, even $500, whatever. You have to pay a professional to go through that and tell you this is what this means and this is what they can do to you and these are what their expectations in the contract are. That is the money that is just worth it 100% every single time. Go ahead, Nux.
Yeah, I've looked at a couple of contracts for different people and tried to help. I'm not a lawyer at all, okay, but at least to tell people who to ask, sort of. So I got a contract from Kick, okay, for streaming on Kick. So they give me the contract and they're like, all right, you want to just sign it and roll out now? I'm like, no, I'm going to read it. And they're like, wow, you're like the first person we're signing that's reading the.
I believe it.
Wait,
I 100% believe it. I 100% believe that.
Dude, and it's such a weird thing because, like, look, I consider myself to be a complete dipshit on the internet. Like, that's my whole, like, thing. Like, I'm a moron at the end of the day, but, like, I get baffled at stories like this because, like, even I'm not that stupid. Because every time I get a contract, whether it be from, like, YouTube or something, a respectable organization that I know wouldn't actively try to f me over, I always send it to a lawyer. I'm like, let's just negotiate and see if we can reach that equilibrium, right? Like, where both sides are happy. But when you were, I don't know you were talking about like merch sales, for instance. You made a joke about like 2% of merch sales.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to even think these are jokes anymore. I'm thinking
No,
that
it's
these
not.
are parts of contracts.
That's
Yeah.
a contractual
Obviously.
term. That was a
Yeah.
Nijisanji contractual term was 2% of merch sales.
And when people read that, like, I don't know how hidden that is in a contract, because usually that's the first thing we look for. I remember when we were signing up for MCNs, one of the most important clauses was our sponsorship agreement. It's like, are we allowed to seek outside sponsorships?
Right.
If so, how much do we pay you? What's that structure like? The fact that, somebody took a contract, they didn't look through it enough and saw, hey, out of all the merch sales you sell, you make 2%. You make basically nothing on a merch, because if you've ever sold merch on the internet, you probably understand that there's the overhead cost. The money per unit you make is not amazing, depending on the quality you sell, and then 2% of that is like, you might as well not even bother.
Right.
Yeah, but again, this is coming from people that don't necessarily have anything going right now. Okay, they're working in Burger King.
Yeah.
They love streaming, and this is their way of actually being able to make it a career. Yes, it's true that they're going to be making, they're going to be making the company $1 million, and they're going to be making themselves, $100,000 or whatever. But
that's $100,000. That's a lot for them at the time.
it's a lot for a lot of people that are just working at Burger King that want to get,
And it's going to open them, but it's going to open up to more and more exploitation. It's just going to happen again. I mean, it's going to keep happening because there's going to be somebody who's willing to take that Faustian deal every single time. There's always going to be people that are willing to take the deal.
Yeah, that's why, you can never dissuade people entirely, because I know today people would join Nijisanji tomorrow if they were given the opportunity. And this is a company that's currently under fire by everyone, and they would join tomorrow. And this is someone who knows what's going on, and they would still join tomorrow.
So I'm assuming, by the way, like that the Japanese government has got some idea of everything going on. Like the fact that they're making public announcements.
Well, here's the thing. At first, they made him in English. Like the CEO gave his speech in English. With English subs, right? Only recently is stuff getting taken back. And once again, they don't make public statements easily. So my assumption would be they're ingesting it privately right now, and there may be starting to be private conversations. But we may not know about this for a while. This may be stuff that, they're taking it in. And the concept, which I think is powerful here, is, are we making Japan as a whole look bad? Right? And it does. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I love Japan. I go to Japan often. I'm going to be in Japan in April. I love Japan. I love the country. I love Japanese people. But it makes Japanese law look bad, and it makes Japanese companies look bad. And that's what politicians should care about, and that's why they should want to change things in this sector.
Do you think at some point, like with enough attention, enough exploitation? I hate using like enough exploitation. Like there needs to be a
but I get what you're
bar we
saying.
have to hit. But like, do you think at a certain point, like both the governments of the United States and the government, like, will add actual pressure to the government of Japan and say, hey, listen, we have a subset of people here. Because the whole point is, if you make the government look bad, at some point the U.S. government or the Canadian government is going to say, hey, we gotta iron this point out, right?
Yes.
It's what we did with it's what we were trying to do with the Chinese when it came to like DMCA law during the Obama era. So it's like you add these points in as you're addressing larger things. You think at some point it'll come down, even with the entertainment sector, like, hey, if you don't want to incorporate something, we gotta address worker exploitation, right? Like you can't be abusing our people on our borders. And raking in millions of dollars to yourself. Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
It will not only get there, but here's the other thing. There's the biggest element of this is the fans, right? The fans are going to contact their senators. They're going to contact their representatives, right? Because these are international fans. And particularly with the English stuff, they're messing with people that are English speaking and have English language fans. So imagine there's a person in America, there's an issue that's like this, maybe, and once again, I am fully against, but maybe something bad happens, right? And the fans are outraged, right? They're going to contact their politicians. They're going to get them on this, and they're going to get them saying, hey, we got to fix this Japan thing, right? This is going to be an issue. We're going to have to do something here. And that's when something does happen. Unfortunately, the history has told us that bad things typically have to happen before there's some corrective action. And that's just, I'm being real, that's the unfortunate reality of how things usually change.
And look, I'm just being hopeful because obviously this involves Japan and the United States, two countries that have had, for the last few decades,
They've had drama.
They had drama back in the World War II era, but I think they hashed it out after a while. You know,
hold on though. In the legal sense, and this is stuff that kind of flies under the radar. There are a lot of little things that brush up. If you look at the Greg Kelly case, who's one of the executives at a company over there, he was kind of ambushed, told to come back to Japan, and essentially detained. Like their idea of due process and speedy trial is entirely different. The guy was detained for multiple years before finally, due to really poor health, he was allowed to go back to the U.S. After years of being there. We've got major differences in our laws, and these do need to be reconciled. And there does need to be some sort of way for us to reconcile, okay, Japanese law, we don't want to change your law, but we need to make it fair for our people, right? We need to somehow apply our concept of labor law to our employees. And look, I'm not trying to change Japanese culture, Japanese work culture. If people want to go to Japan, want to work in Japan, want to live in Japan, I think you accept those norms, right? You go to Japan, you accept the Japanese work culture norms if you're working in a Japanese company. But if you're working for yourself in America or Canada, right, you would expect our norms to apply, right? You'd expect our contractual labor standard minimums to apply. And frankly, those weren't applying in the case of Nijisanji or Wacker, which was even worse.
My rule is if you're paying the IRS the lion's share, if they're your primary tax, if they're your primary tax burden, the law should be applying to you employmentally wise, right? Like if you're in the U.S. government, you're paying the IRS 100%. Year after year. Yeah. You might be working for a Japanese company, but holy shit, you're at least employed to some level of protection, right? Like from abuse at least.
Well, and here's the other thing. It's the whole independent contractor rig, which everyone likes to believe that if you make an agreement and you put independent contractor on it, you can do whatever the hell you want. That's not how it works. The law looks at like what you're doing and what sort of relationship you are. So despite the fact that the talent might be structured as independent contractors, if you look at the elements of what an employee is, they completely meet it in terms of control, in terms of dictating what they do, when they do it, how they do it, right? They meet the elements of an employee, regardless of the fact that these companies want to call them independent. It's kind of irrelevant.
Well,
dude,
honestly,
what an ugly and messy situation
crazy.
the whole thing is.
Honestly,
it's insane.
like,
this might but go down in history. Like it could be a turning point of how America treats Japanese law or something like that.
Even Canada.
I think it's good to discuss this from like just the entertainment perspective. Like, look, we're YouTubers, we're in this business. You may not people watching. Some of you may not understand or care about the VTubing space, but like, you should care about this business if you're a creator. You should care about, because the protections that are being given to the VTubers ultimately also are given umbrella to everyone else in this business too. And if we can do something to make working across international borders somewhat tolerable and easier, we should all be striving for it, right? Like, because the way that it is now, the way that the world is now, I may choose to not want to work with Japanese companies or Japanese organizations, even outside of the VTuber space. Because if this is just how business is done, it's unsafe for me and the people that work for me. And until shit changes, and with this, if enough attention is raised, enough awareness, it will change, then, we can get to... It works beneficial for both ways, right? Like a Japanese influencer can hopefully get some level of protections that come from, the American side of the business and whatnot too. Dude, but as it is right now...
Here's the thing. We're not... Okay. No one is as big of a fan and trying to help Nijisanji like we are. The people, the talent, the face of the company, the people that are working there, no one is trying to help them as much as us, okay? You could call us haters or whatever. We are the opposite of haters.
Hit list, yeah.
The blacklist, yeah.
Whatever. All that's fine and good, but you don't realize that this conversation that's been happening on YouTube is the most pro Nijisanji conversation that's ever happened.
Correct, because it's like giving them advice that like their corporate counsel, their PR people, their marketers, right, should have given them, right? It's like, please listen to this advice and please take it as constructive criticism to improve yourself and improve this industry, because this is going to help you in the long run. This is going to improve you in the long run. I once again, press X to doubt, right? But you would hope that we can get out there and we can actually have some impact on self-reflection, on improvement in that industry as a whole.
Yeah. It's a great way for you guys. It's a great way for you to phrase it that we're pro them after we kind of dug into some of their most evil history. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I really do hope the best. I really do. I really actually enjoyed this discussion, and I'm glad we had you, Andrew, because
my pleasure.
As a lawyer, discussing this topic without actual people that understand the intricacies of the law is a waste of time, in my opinion, right? Like, otherwise we're just spitting shit out. We're all uneducated except for you in the situation, because you understand how this situation, how these systems, you know how to actually apply this, right? Like, it's one thing reading a piece of legal documentation, and it's another thing understanding how it applies in the context of both governments. And that's where I think this discussion should go. I really, really want to see this play out for the positive. I don't want the I guess you could say the drama to stop, right? Because to me it isn't, and to most normal people this isn't drama. This is the best way to make meaningful change, is through awareness in this industry, right? Like, at least applying, and not just pointless awareness where we're just like going back and forth and saying Nijisanji shit or whatever. This isn't that. It's to raise I think the awareness needs to be raised to your senators, to people that are in positions of power that can bring this to the government. And maybe the next time bills and the next time discussions are had, both the U.S. government and the Japanese government can bring this up as a point of contention, right? It's something that gets thrown in.
It should be important to note that this story that just happened, that everyone's talking about, this is the first story that actually went public. There are worse things that happened in Nijisanji that were just successfully suppressed by their, contracts and stuff like that. There are worse stories than this that happened.
And I think it's great that this crossed the lingual boundaries too, because to think about it again, it's like you said, Andrew, it's like this. There are people that are just finding this out, right? Like, first off, being a lawyer is already a licensed profession, right, on both sides of the water. Being a lawyer that speaks English and Japanese and understands both countries' laws is an even rarer find. So it's going to be a while before you have.
And you usually won't find it, right? You usually won't find it. I mean, it's like I said, I'm not a Japanese lawyer. I'm just an American lawyer. But I guarantee you're going to have Japanese lawyers processing this, and they're going to be like, oh, shit. Right, because they didn't realize it from coming back in this perspective, right? So they're going to hear it from, they're going to have people translating my American legal perspective and being like, wow, we have a totally different way of doing things here, but we've got to reconcile this, right? They probably don't even realize, because they're studying, we all have blinders on, right? American lawyers are studying American law, Canadian lawyers are studying Canadian law, right? We have these blinders on, but it takes an event like this to break us out of looking like this and start looking like this. Right? We're so focused. We're so hyper focused. This is one instance that is great for having us all look up and look around and say, we've got to change the scenario, right? This is not, the status quo is not going to work going forward. And the VTuber industry is different. So maybe we should think about it a little differently than how we've thought about things in the past. Maybe.
And even beyond just the final thing I want to add to is this is an industry where a lot of minors are involved.
Yeah.
People who are under the age of 18, and the ethical concerns that are around a minor are miles different especially in the entertainment business. I brought up a law, the Coogan laws from California. These are laws that exist for protection of minors, specifically their money that is earned by them. But these are this, when you're bringing kids and you're making them sign, or you're getting them to sign these big brand deals, they're making a lot of money. We need to have protections, both for their investments, their cash, but also for their emotional burden that is added on by some of these companies. We cannot have a situation where we hear about somebody potentially trying to take their life again. There's no normal industry where that's just drama. It's not drama.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And if you think this is the first time something like that happened, you're wrong. This is just the first time you heard about it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't take that happening and there being an actual fatality for them to change, right? We would hope that this was no, but I mean that's my wish, right? I want this to be a scenario that prevents anything in the future from happening, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Stop it before it escalates to a point where we sit over there and say, now we're making these laws out of memoriam at this point, when we could have made these a year ago.
That's my fear.
People are fighting about. Yeah. That's what we're fighting over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for being on, Andrew. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's getting late for you.
My pleasure. It's only 3:20 in the AM. I mean, what's 3:20 between friends?
Yeah, what's honestly no, but what's 3:20 when you're a YouTuber at the end of the day? It's like the fucking that's like lunchtime for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for being on, man, and this has been another episode of the Some Ordinary Podcast. If you all enjoyed what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. Check out Andrew's channel. We'll leave your socials in the description below. Check out Nux, check out me, and check out Oompaville, who's currently down because he's going through building one of the most insane computers for Sour Boys. That is all of us, and we are out.